So when I talk about My Chemical Romance and its relationship with 911 in the last episode, it made me think of that actually a lot of pop culture after the millennium is related to this incident, showing how the world having a sudden change, shocked by the existence of terrorism. So today, I would like to talk about the Person of Interest TV series. So already a decade have passed after its first shown on TV, but I believe that these TV shows have reflected one of the main problems or issues that the world we're living in nowadays have. So most importantly about our personal privacy and how we're being supervised all the time. So this is a very complicated TV series with a lot of characters, with a lot of small incidents, but the main idea, or to say the main plot, is that there is a machine built by one of the main character in this TV series and was handed over to the government, and the government used this machine to predict terrorism and to prevent these incidents from happening. However, the machine would also to detect some smaller incidents that would happen to normal victims, that would be normal people, and to prevent the perpetrator from making the murders or crimes. The maker, or to say the creator of this machine, has found some retired CIA agents to solve these smaller problems for normal citizens. So we can see that the machine is a very powerful tool for the government to modify how things work or to prevent things that should have happened. And what would the world be if this kind of tool, or it can be used as a weapon, to fall into the wrong hand? So there comes up another machine that is called Samaritan, who are used by other people to fight against the machine. And that is not just a war between different parties, different governments in the world, but a struggle between two superpower, that would be say two super artificial intelligence, and how they use their strengths to compete to each other, gaining as much as information as possible and to bring out stimulation and strategy towards each other, and how their human agent would make their steps. So I bet you have been very confused by this point, as there are so many human, government, machines, artificial intelligence all in the same time. But let's bring it out to the real world instead of the plot and the script of this TV series. In the real world, we know there are surveillance cameras everywhere, and we believe that these cameras are there to help us protect ourselves. We can trace our properties if they're stolen. We can find evidence through the recordings when murders or crimes are happening. However, these surveillance cameras all around the country, all around the world nowadays, are gaining our privacy every second. And they can trace every normal person, and maybe every normal person would be targeted as the person of interest, and you may one day suddenly to be seen as a threat. And it is not just as simple as surveillance camera. From your car, from your social media, from things that you surf online, your actions are being watched all day, all time, and everywhere. So on the good point, we would say that all these surveillance could be seen as a protection of security, whether to our individuals or towards the national security, to prevent terrorism, to prevent crime, or to trace down bad people, to trace down perpetrators, and to give the innocence to the victims. But however, there is another huge problem, is that should we sacrifice our individual privacy and rights in exchange for so-called security and safety? Because even if we got so many watchers for our life, we still found that our own rights are sometimes not being protected, crimes are still happening around the world, and bad people are not always being traced down and to be dealt with legislation and law. So how can we use such powerful tool of watching out for privacy and maybe in the future really a machine, and maybe even the machine actually exists in our society nowadays? How can we use that to protect our rights and defend justice? Or to say, maybe they will be fall into the wrong hand and being manipulated in order to control the life of normal people, our individuals who don't actually have a right of having their own privacy, having their own life not being watched. So I would say that's the TV series Person of Interest, which also came up after the 911, after a series of terrorism acts. It have reflect, or to say foreshadow, for our attitudes towards the future societies and how the systems work, whether now, in the history and in the future.